What's up, everybody, man? Thank y'all for tuning in. And, man, we got another one. We got another crazy court case, you know what I'm saying? And we going to step into the Sarah Boone like I promised y'all. You know what I mean? That's definitely going to be the next thing shaking. And let me put this phone on silent before they mess up the whole stream. But we're definitely going to get into the Sarah Boone interrogation and all that. But, man, this Fani Willis, excuse me. Oh, this stuff was just too good to pass up because, man, when I tell you she's in the courtroom trying to own the courtroom, want things to go her way, man, that's exactly what I mean. And if you guys haven't been watching this, something wrong with you because this stuff is everywhere. Now, Fani Willis is the lead district attorney on the Trump case, the prosecutor. She also has a special prosecutor, you know what I mean, District Attorney Wade, who she was actually having a relationship with. And I mean, it's all kind of allegations, and this is all allegedly for the most part. But when you see how this courtroom debacle takes place, you're gonna be like, man, something ain't right here. They also have a situation where there's some misdealings of money. And that's all alleged. We don't really know, especially when you keep cash, when you're using cash, so there's no real paper trail, right? So we're going to dig into this a little bit, and let me let y'all know off top, I am still fresh to this case. I'm still going over it and watching it and stuff, and I have to say, shout out to Fani Willis because she got me focused on this, which let me detox a little bit from the whole Daryl Brooks situation, you know what I mean? But anyway, let's step into it without further ado, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe if you're brand new to the channel, and let's go.
District Attorney Fani, Fani. Last name is Willis.
Ms. Willis, how did you know to come into the courtroom right then?
There were people I was pacing in my office.
Okay.
And I heard someone yell, "His testimony is done." It only made sense to me that I would be your next witness. And I've been very anxious to have this conversation with you today. So I ran to the courtroom.
So as soon as you heard that Mr. Wade was done testifying, that's when you just assumed you would be the next witness?
It only makes sense.
Did you listen to any of the testimony?
I've been in my office pacing, ma'am.
Okay. Did you listen to any of the arguments?
Now, mind y'all, she's not the first person that was brought up on the stand, but I figured, we'll start with her first because she's the most explosive. Then we'll cut back to all the other people that got on the stand, and we won't do it tonight. We'll do it in different episodes or whatever. But nobody's stories is really lining up all the way. They're somewhat lining up, but they're not lining up all the way, not matching what Fani Willis is trying to say with her takeover of the courtroom. And yes, I do have some choice words for the judge in this one as well.
I did hear the arguments this morning. It's ridiculous to me that you lied on Monday, and yet here we still are. And I did listen to that argument.
All right, so that was it, just the argument, no testimony.
She started
right,
off
I listened
right
to
away.
the argument this morning where Adam Abadi, I thought, did an excellent job pointing out how dishonest you were with the court on Monday. And I'm actually surprised that the hearing continued. But since it did, here I am.
Great. So let's just talk about what you did in preparation for today. Did you meet with Mr. Wade at all? Once the motion was filed, did you meet with Mr. Wade and talk to him about the motion that I filed to disqualify you?
On this first January motion?
Yes.
I don't know if you could say talked about. I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So I don't know that it was a conversation. As you know, Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman. Me, not so much.
Okay, but my question was, did you have a conversation with him?
I didn't have a substantive conversation.
You did not.
Look, hey, is it me or did she come out to confront who's asking the questions, the prosecutor that's actually asking her the questions? Now, mind y'all, she's not necessarily on trial. This is a hearing. Now, what they're trying to do is basically stack together the evidence to put her on trial, and she's trying to defend that and defeat that. Her being a lead DA, having been a judge as well, I believe, she's not having none of it. And I'm not saying that she's right about it, because she's very defiant through these court proceedings. Now, she came out like she said, I assumed that I was the next one up after whoever you had on the stand ahead of me. And she's like, I ran over here to have this conversation. So she already came off with being defiant and trying to confront in the courtroom from the jump.
I read this motion, skimmed it more so, and I've probably said some choice things to him about some of the lies that were told.
Okay.
And been printed in the media, because, we used to be in a day and time where you had 60 Minutes and people did stories and they verified information, and you had this great reporting. But it seems today that a lawyer writes a lie and then it's printed for all of the world to see.
Well, I just want to make sure that you answer the question I asked, though. So my question was...
Overruled, Mr. Abadi.
I told you what happened. I read the motion. I am sure I told him what my opinion of it is.
Okay.
I know they're
And
trying to...
past that, we had no substantive conversation.
You did not.
I know they're trying to get to the meat and potatoes of the whole relationship and stuff, but what they're really trying to do, I believe, is like it says up on the screen, they're trying to prove that she financially benefited from a romantic relationship with Nathan Wade. Now, where I'll tell you where she went wrong. She went wrong by having by taking on a case of this magnitude and putting the special prosecutor, which she's sleeping with, on the case with her, especially trying to convict Trump. You already know they're gonna comb through everything with a fine-tooth comb. Had you not put him on there, I don't think we'd be here today. You feel what I'm saying? So that was a wrong move by her, ever putting a guy that she's sleeping with on the case with her. Like, I mean, come on, man. That's got to be donkey of the day type of move.
Is there something you didn't understand?
No, I just wanted to make sure that
Okay.
you did not have a meeting with him in the conference room to discuss the motion.
Next question,
No.
Ms. Merchant.
So in the conference room of my office within this week, you produced some financial document. That financial document was given to me, something, and I'm not even sure who was giving it to him by me or Mr. Abadi gave it to me. And I think he showed me a document in our conference room. But as far as a substantive conversation, I don't believe I've had any conversation with him that is substantive related to this.
Okay.
I have had conversations with him since you filed the motion, but they wouldn't be substantive to this. He's sent me very nice sermons that have been done. And so we've had conversations about, did you listen to that sermon? You know, things of that nature. And I would say they were in relationship to this because I think he did it to be kind.
Okay. Let's start back in 2019.
Yeah.
So you and Mr. Wade met in October 2019 at a conference?
That is correct. And I think in one of your motions you tried to implicate I slept with him at that conference, which
Now, mind you, she's just asking like basic yes or no questions. Like, you guys met in 2019, but through this whole hearing, Fani is she's gonna take it upon herself to explain every yes or no question. Even if she already gives the answer, then she has to explain it all. Like, I don't know if I get that or if I don't get that, but the shit got pretty irritating to me.
I find to be extremely offensive. I stayed at that conference. Mr. Wade was my teacher. I did not meet him when he taught the class. I was standing outside talking to Lisa Reeves, who is a judge. Me and her were just having a conversation. Mr. Wade walks up. I think they hug each other. They have some brief conversation. She introduces us.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. We kind of thought that when you asked the question, you can answer the question, not a speech, so I object to the speech.
I agree.
I'm able to explain my answers.
I believe she's able to explain her answers.
And that's
Ms. Merchant, that's okay. I can handle it. Ms. Willis, I'll ask you to just listen to the answer, or excuse me, the question, and keep the answers confined to the question as best you can. I think you'll have more than enough ample opportunity on when the state is
Well,
able
it's
to ask
highly offensive when
follow-ups.
someone lies on you, and it's highly offensive when they try
Judge.
to implicate that you slept with somebody the
Yeah,
first day
I
you met.
understand that, but I don't think this is the place to have that argument with her, like lashing out. You know what I mean? To be defiant with whoever's asking you questions, because she doesn't only do this with this woman that she claims lied on her and stuff like that. She does it with everybody that asks her questions. Like, y'all ever seen people that can talk themselves into the BS instead of just answering the question and moving on, getting through it as fast as you can? That's not Fani. And her being a lead district attorney, she's trying to control the courtroom. Like, the shit is crazy.
With them, and I take exception to it.
All right. Well, Ms. Willis, she'll have the opportunity to explain all of that when it's the state's turn to ask more open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Ms. Merchant.
Thank you, Judge.
She is
So again, my question
irritated
was,
with
you all
this
met at that conference, though, right?
We did the meeting.
Okay.
He, as I stated, he taught the class. I did not actually meet him when
She
he
gonna
taught
say
the
everything
class.
she just said.
I walked out of the class, and I'm not sure if it was that exact class or we had went to lunch, but we were standing in the vestibule, like outside of the class. Me and Judge Reeves were having a conversation. She had worked at a law firm I worked at back in 1996.
We're getting way afar. I mean, I don't mind her explaining her answers, but I literally just asked if they met at that
She's
conference.
explaining how she met Mr. Wade, which was exactly the question asked by Ms. Merchant.
It was-
These answers are more than appropriate.
No, she did not
Ms.
say how she met. She said, "Did you meet in 2019 at the conference?" Y'all hear her attorney? He just sat there and lied, but ain't nobody saying nothing about that. And the judge, I don't know. There's been times where he had to check Fani later on, but it took him so long to get to that point. It almost seemed like he was more so siding with her when you're supposed to be, like in the Darrell Brooks case, Judge Darrell was the umpire. So you're supposed to be fair. You're supposed to lay down the law. If they're asking yes or no questions and then we go into this whole segment for 5 minutes of whatever she wants to explain to the point where she gets off of subject, well then the district attorney that's questioning her has the right to talk to the judge like, hey, I'm asking her a simple question. I just asked, did y'all meet? She explains how they met and all that because she's trying to cover her tracks. That's just how I feel. And don't nobody come over here with the race card and all that stuff, because that is not what we do over here. We gonna call it how we call it.
Merchant, if you want more concise answers, perhaps you could lead the witness.
I will. Thank you, Judge. Isn't it true that you met Mr. Wade in October 2019
I'm
at the
gonna
judge's
question.
conference?
He hasn't gotten to the point where Ms. Willis should be treated hostile in this situation.
I think we have.
I very
Mr.
much
Willis.
want to be here, so I'm not a hostile witness. I very much want to be
Not
here.
so much that you're hostile, Ms. Willis, it'd be an adverse witness. Your interests are opposed to
And
Ms.
that was her
Merchant's.
lawyer that said that, but
Thank you.
he didn't call her a hostile witness. He was saying that the prosecutor is being hostile towards Fani when Fani actually came out here hostile in the first place. Which, I mean, if you got lied on, I understand the attitude. But had this been DA Fani on the other end and there's somebody else on the stand, do y'all really think that she would allow them to explain their answers like that? Do you really think that she would have allowed them to come in there with an attitude as such? I don't think so. But shit is crazy because I don't give a damn what district attorney is on the stand. If they're acting like this, I'm gonna say the same thing. If this was the other way around, you wouldn't allow what you're trying to get allowed to do here.
Contrary to democracy, Your Honor, not to mine.
All right, let's
Judge,
proceed.
I would just ask that
We can keep things moving. Ms. Merchant,
Thank you.
next question,
Thank you.
please.
Okay, so we've confirmed when you met. After that, isn't it true?
No, I need to explain this, and I think I get to explain my answers. When I met him, Judge Reeves introduced us. He handed me his business card. I'm unsure if I handed him my business card, but we exchanged information. He said, if you ever need any help, give me a call. And he walked to the parking lot.
So after that, you started dating shortly thereafter, correct?
A lie. That's one of your lies.
Do you know Robin Yurdy?
I know her as Robin Bryant. I knew
Now,
her.
mind you, who Robin Yuri is, I believe I'm saying that right. If I'm not, excuse me for messing up her name. But Robin is a lady that she was friends with that also worked for her, under her. But she also took over her townhouse at one time. Now, when we get to the Robin Yeary episode, you guys are going to hear her say that they were dating since 2019, which Fani is trying to play down. She's trying to play it down like they basically got into a brief relationship, which I think she's saying that to try to save him, because at the time I guess he was married, even though he claims that him and his wife marriage had been, I guess they've been separated since 2015. Like, it's crazy how everybody's spinning the story. But my bad. But Robin is when we get to her, she's gonna start breaking down everything, like how they would, and she don't really go into too much detail to try to harm Fani, but she does say that she herself personally witnessed a romantic relationship between Miss Willis and Mr. Wade since 2019. Was it 2019? Yeah, 2019. Like, that's years.
Robin did not go to my college. She went to the college of, I went to Howard University. She went to Morgan State.
Mind you, she asked her, did
I
she
met
know
her
her?
through
That's
some
it.
people I knew. In college, we hung out a bit. Not much, because she was in Baltimore and I was in Washington, D.C. But we hung out a bit. After college, I lost contact with her. I probably didn't see Robin again until maybe 7 or 8 years ago, a chance meeting here in Atlanta. But we did not have a consistent relationship from when I left college and came to Emory Law School here in Atlanta. But 8 to 10 years ago, just by happenstance, I ran into her. So she was in Atlanta.
You have been friends with Robin for 30-something years.
Did you hear my answer, madam?
Yes, and I'm asking if you've been friends with her for 30-something years.
I've known her for 30-something years. We certainly hung out and partied together in college. She was from the D.C. area. She would come home, we'd party together. Wasn't close, but she was certainly in the girlfriends that partied together.
Now, I do get what she's saying right there. Like, if you're saying that we've been friends and we haven't been friends for 30 years, I only knew her for 30 years, then that kind of implicates that there was maybe some issues there. Maybe they didn't get too close or whatever, which I don't understand, because you went and stayed in her house. She also went and worked for you until she was threatened with being fired or resigning. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna say, I'll give Fani this one. You do got to be clear right there if they were friends or if they just knew each other. So I'll give her that one.
And then, like I said, I ran into her about 10 years ago in Atlanta, Georgia.
So
But we didn't talk throughout that time period. I didn't see her. I didn't even know where she was. When I ran into her, I was surprised she was in Atlanta. And so, yes, I have known her probably since 1990, 1991, but we have not maintained a consistent relationship that whole time.
for the last 10 years or 5, whatever you'd like to classify it as, have you been friends with her?
I have not spoken to Robin in over a year. I certainly do not consider her a friend now. I think that she, you know, there's a saying, no good deed goes unpunished. And I think that she betrayed our friendship.
So let's narrow it down, the timeline now. So my questions are going to be from the time period of 2019 until she no longer was employed for you, the last time you all talked. So all of my next questions are just focused on that time frame, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Up until she left your office.
Yes, ma'am.
During 2019, you all were friends, correct?
Yes, we knew each other in 2019.
During 2020, you all were friends, correct?
We were friends during that time period.
During 2021, you all were friends, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And such good friends that when you needed a place to stay, you asked her if you could take over her lease.
That's a lie.
You did not move into her apartment?
I did, but that's not the way you characterize it. Is wrong.
I asked if you could take over her lease.
I did not ask if I could take over her lease.
Did you move into her apartment?
I moved into her condo in April of 21. The circumstances around that were that Robin met her husband. They wanted to move into another and separate place. She wanted to get rid of her condo. My father was living with me at the house. Because of this case and because of my stance on gangs, my life was being threatened regularly. My father urged me to leave our home. At the same time, as luck would have it, Robin wanted to give up her lease because she wanted to move in with this new man she met, who eventually became her husband. And so as life circumstances worked, my dad was begging me to leave the house. He was afraid for me, afraid for his grandchildren. She wanted someone to take over her lease so that she didn't, have to pay a fee or get abandoned. And so I don't remember when, but probably March or April of 21, I moved in and take over her lease.
See, now that I see this part again, because I may have rushed to judgment in the beginning when I first watched it. When I hear this part right here where the lady asks, you asked to take over her lease for her apartment, and it's actually a condo, and she didn't actually ask to take over the lease. You know what I mean? Robin was with another man, and they were trying to move, so she needed somebody to take over her lease. I'm not sure if she asked her to do it, or if all the puzzle pieces just fell into place for it to happen like that, or if Fani actually said, let me take over your lease. I'm not sure, but her clarification on everything, that was warranted in this instance right here. I'll give her that one too.
Pay her, did you pay the leasing agent?
No, I don't even know who the leasing agent was. I paid her.
You paid her. Did you pay her cash or did you use a card?
There were some times that I would give her cash, but mostly I paid her via Cash App. That would be the most convenient thing. So I would not only give her rent, but then like when the utilities would come in, whatever the utility was, she might be like, I need $70, I need $100, whatever it was. And we never had a problem with money. Whatever she told me it was, I never asked to see a bill. I never questioned her. I just gave it to her.
So you didn't actually
what
take
percentage
over the
would you
lease?
say you paid cash versus Cash App?
Oh, the vast majority was Cash App. I don't know what percentage, I'm not going to guess that, but the vast majority was Cash App. But there would be times she would say, this bill came in at $70, here goes $70.
Did you have a monthly rent amount that you paid her?
I can't remember. It was $1,400, $1,500. I can't remember what it was. And it would vary, which I don't understand to this day. But like I said, I never questioned her.
When did you move out?
Said it was. That's what I paid.
When did you
I
move out?
abruptly moved out in February, either late January or early February of 22.
Of 22.
Yes,
February 2022, is that what you said?
January, February of 22. I believe it is January, but I paid her half the rent of February of 22 is what I remember. And because I was offering to pay the whole rent, even though I didn't live there, I didn't think it was right. And I ended up just paying her half the rent.
So that's after you moved out. You said you paid her half of that. Okay. And the time that you said you had to move out of your house because you were scared, did your dad stay there at your house?
My father was concerned. Yes, we were both concerned.
Okay. But he remained there.
My father was 80 years old. He would have been 79. He was scared to death of COVID. You have to go back to when this was. My father's an older man. I wanted him to move out. We had some discussions about him moving out, and what he decided was the risk of COVID was more dangerous than the risk of the people that were threatening. Typical man, more worried about his daughter and his grandchildren than his own safety. You'll get to meet him and you'll understand he doesn't scare too easily.
So his grandkids were living at the house as well at that time?
Well, I don't know how old your children are, but when you have adult children, they leave and they come back. They leave and they come back. So there have been periods of time that they're there.
Now, she could have just answered right there when she said, was your daughter staying there with your father? You could have just answered off and on.
They come, they do whatever they want to do. Children do what children do. As long as their mother has a house, they'll come to it. Unfortunately, now the threats because of this case have gotten so extreme. I just pay a mortgage and no one lives there.
And that's what I was going to ask you. So when you moved out in, I think you said April 2021, you left your dad and your two kids at the house?
My dad and my two kids were not at the house.
They were not? Okay, so they didn't still live at your house?
My youngest daughter certainly did not live there.
Okay.
My oldest daughter would come back and forth. I can't say month for month when she was there or when she was not there. I know that she has been there post me moving out. At this time, no one is at my house.
Okay. So at some point after you moved out for the safety reasons, at least one of your children did come back.
Ms. Merchant, can we get to either the relationship or the financial benefit?
Yes. Let's see, we were back at 2021. So you were still friends with Miss Yeardy then. Were you also friends with Mr. Bradley?
I've never been friends with Mr. Bradley.
You've never been friends with Mr. Bradley?
No, I don't consider us to be friends. I don't dislike Mr. Bradley, but I don't consider us to be friends.
Is he someone that you would have in your phone and you would message with?
I might have text messaged him.
Okay. Would you text message him and Mr. Wade on the same conversations?
I don't recall doing that, but if it happened, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, so that wouldn't surprise you, the three of you. Okay. How frequently would you think that the three of you would have texted
Not
in a group
very.
chat?
I wouldn't think very often, but you're asking me to recall. I don't even know what time period you're asking me to recall, but I'm not going to speak to that because I just really don't know the answer to that. And so I don't want to speculate as to how often that would happen. But it's not out of my practice to text two people on one text message. So if you told me that happened and showed it to me, it wouldn't surprise me, although I have no recollection of it.
But there would be some record of it in your phone, or the phone records would have some record of those texts.
Perhaps.
Talk about, you said that sometimes you paid Miss Yurdi cash.
I don't
When
think
you
I-
went,
I'm sorry.
when you went on vacation with Mr. Wade, let's just go one by one. Let's start with the first one. What's the first time you went on vacation with Mr. Wade?
I think the first time we went on vacation was around April of 22, and it's a vacation is a stretch, but I'm trying to be comprehensive. I recall April of 22. His birthday is March the 18th. So that would have been his 49th birthday. I took him to like Tennessee for the day. I think we went to a museum. I think we might have stayed the night. I'm not sure. But I mean, Tennessee's kind of hard to call a vacation, but I just am trying to be inclusive. And like I said, I don't think, I know it wasn't more than a day.
I mean, I don't know why you would take a vacation.
You're gonna
to
spend the
Tennessee,
night.
I think that we did. That's what I'm telling you. I think that there's a possibility that we stayed that night in April of 22.
Who paid for the hotel?
I think I did. It was his birthday.
And would you have used a credit card?
Probably maybe a debit. When I started dating Mr. Wade, it was right around then. That
April 2020?
I don't know what happened
Two?
there.
22, yes.
2022.
It was 22. You know, it's not like when you're in grade school and you send a little letter and it says, will you be my girlfriend, and you check it. I don't know the day that we started seeing each other, but it was early 22 is my recollection.
Okay, early 22. And you all went to Florida on vacation as well?
I don't recall going to Florida on vacation with him.
You never went to Florida with Mr. Wade?
When we went to get on the cruise ship, we went to Miami.
Okay, that's the only time that you went to Florida with him?
I think we went to Miami and spent the night. That's my recollection.
Okay.
I think we spent the night. That's my recollection.
Okay.
I think we spent one night so that we
No, I
wouldn't
think
miss the ship.
MSNBC
That's my
video
recollection
tripping.
of our
Paid for
vacation.
that hotel.
In Miami? I don't remember that.
And how'd you get to Miami?
We would have flown. And we've done that, so that I'm clear, we've done that twice. I think one time we stayed, and I honestly can't tell you, did we stay when the ship left or did we stay when the ship came back? I also can't tell you, so there's 2 cruises out of Miami. There's one that's in that October time period that was with his mom. And then there was another that was a New Year's Eve trip. I know I paid for the New Year's Eve trip because the tickets were $697 each. And I thought this is ridiculous that the tickets are $700 to go to Miami. But when you travel during New Year's Eve, you know, they get you.
So let's just back up and talk about the first time that you went to Florida with Mr. Wade. That was the time that you said you stayed in Miami at the hotel the first night?
That's the time I told you I am not sure. So I'm not sure of 2 things. So I want to make sure that my testimony is clear. I'm not sure if we stayed in Miami on the October trip. I'm not sure if we stayed in Miami on the December trip. I just can't remember that. And I also don't remember, so that the record is clear, I don't remember if the necessity was as we got on the ship or we got off the ship. But I do remember there was a night spent in Miami because either whatever. I don't remember. But I think that there was a night spent in Miami.
I don't remember.
That cruise is the one that you took in October, right?
Ma'am, if you have something to refresh my recollection, I'm intentionally trying to not be difficult with you, but I don't want to make up something.
Right.
I know.
Now, I don't see that. I don't see her intentionally trying not to be difficult. Maybe in this little instance right here, but I mean, you don't remember nothing. Most of the stuff and most of the stuff that she's asked, she doesn't remember. Neither does most of the witnesses. It's a lot of I don't remember. Like if we're talking about, and see, this is what kind of ruins it for her, is because her friend Robin say they've been messing with each other that she know of since like 2019. She calls it maybe 2021, 2022, like most recent. So if it's most recent, you can't remember that, and you're a district attorney, somebody that prosecutes people, criminal district attorney. I don't buy that. What are y'all doing if you ain't remembering? You're pretty much in a full-blown relationship with this dude on the low, but you don't remember nothing that you guys are doing. You don't remember certain things that's going on, certain trips, what we did. Like I can remember the good times and all that with my wife like vividly years ago. What we did, where we stayed for the most part. Now I'm not gonna say that anybody would just remember everything, because I get that, but it's so much of I don't know this and I don't know that it's ridiculous, especially coming from a district attorney. That's just my opinion.
That on one of those 2 trips, we stayed in Miami. I am not sure right now. You're asking me about.
Oh, I'm sorry, you misunderstood. I was not asking you which night you stayed in Miami. I'm asking if you took a cruise in October 2022 with Mr. Wade.
Yes, and his mom.
And his mother. That's what I was asking.
Yes.
Is that the first time you met his mother?
Yes.
It was on that cruise, and that was Royal Caribbean, I believe?
I honestly don't remember what ship. I know we've taken 2 cruises. I don't know what the ships were.
But he paid for the flight and the cruise on Royal Caribbean that time.
So yes, he paid. He is the original one that does it. He has something called, Mr. Wade is a world traveler. I'm not as versed as him. He's been to 6 of the 7 continents. And so he has both a personal travel agent.
Remember, she said
and he also has a cruise travel agent. I don't know anything about either of those kind of travel agents. So he is the one that would book the travel, but we need to be clear when we're talking about just because he booked it doesn't mean, like, I don't consider him having taken me any place. Let me just be honest. The only one that's ever taken somebody someplace is for his 50th birthday. I consider that I took him to Belize, and I took him to Belize because, I don't want to discuss his personal business, but I'm happy Mr. Wade is still here with me.
Now, this is where I don't remember if she was talking about Tennessee or Miami when they went to the cruise at first about his birthday, where she said she paid. But then the prosecutor just said, you know what, let's continue, because it gets a little shaky for me right here with this part, because now she's saying once again for his birthday I took him and paid for Belize. You know what I mean? But Belize wasn't mentioned just a minute ago. It was Tennessee and Miami, and either one of those she said she paid for. Then when it came out, okay, Mr. Wade paid for the flights and the cruise, now she's cleaning it up to basically say, yeah, he paid for it, but I paid him back.
us, and I did 50 big, very big.
So still on that October Royal Caribbean cruise,
50 big is
even though he had a
50,000.
travel agent. I'm sorry?
If you do me a favor, I don't know what cruise ship, what time. So if you'll help me and say October cruise with Mama or the New Year's Eve trip with his sisters, I'll be able to, we can communicate. I just don't know what ship.
October cruise with Mama. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He paid for the cruise and the flights for that trip.
So he called his cruise agent and he booked that through them because he has a cruise agent.
Right.
He also has a regular agent. I don't know the cruise agent's name.
So I wasn't asking about his travel agent. I was just asking
but
if
I'm
he
trying
paid
to,
for those.
He did not, though.
Okay.
Because the reason I consider that he did not is I gave him his money back.
And I was about to ask that. But initially, he paid for that.
Yeah, he called his cruise agent. Like, I think they have his card on record. They do whatever.
Okay. So initially, he paid for the cruise and the flight to Miami and the Royal Caribbean cruise.
And my understanding of that October cruise is like it was a package the lady did for him.
So, and I'll get to the reimbursements and all that. I'm just trying to confirm he paid for the flight and the cruise in October.
And I think that when you say things that way, I want this record to be
Initially.
abundantly clear that he calls his travel agent, he calls his cruise agent. They do whatever he tells them. He's like on
Now,
a
mind you, she's being a little defiant and trying to control the courtroom, but at the same time, she's not necessarily on trial here. This is just a hearing.
first name basis with these people. They do it, and then he tells me how much it is, and I give him the money back. I don't, just like you're asking me about the money with Robin, I don't do my friends like that. So if you tell me it's a G, then you're gonna get $1,000. Whatever it is, I didn't ever make him produce receipts to me. Whatever he told me it was, I gave him his money back.
Isn't it true that he paid for the cruise and the flight on his credit card?
I find it hard to believe for a district attorney to not be paying attention, not have receipts or anything like that. You know what I mean? That's the thing that make me feel like you're ducking some things, because then tax issues come in if the money that you're spending is actually accounted for, especially when you say you keep a lot of cash. Y'all feel what I'm saying? I could be wrong, but this case is new to me, so I'm just gathering it all together as well. I didn't have time to look over this one like I did the Darrell Brooks situation and had all the ins and outs. So I'm getting it fed to me the same way and still trying to figure it out because I'm trying to catch certain things.
Not asking about reimbursement or after. He used his credit card to buy the cruise and buy the flight, correct?
I have no idea how he paid for it,
Okay.
if it's a credit card, if it's a debit card, but certainly he called his cruise agent. You know, like how many people have a cruise agent? He calls his cruise agent, tells them where they want to go. They tell him what's booked. You have to remember, he paid for, that initial was me, him, and his mother.
And then after that cruise, you all flew to Aruba and spent a couple days in a hotel there, correct?
Right, and his mother was not happy
He
that we left her
initially
behind.
paid for that. He initially paid for that.
For Aruba, yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about both of those. I know he initially paid for it. Did you pay him back?
For the cruise and for Aruba, yeah, I gave him his money before we ever went on that trip.
You gave him cash before you ever went on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when you got cash
go,
to pay him
cash.
back on these trips, would you go to the ATM?
No, lady,
You would not go to the ATM.
no.
Okay. So
That's
Fulton
deflect
County
the paper
pays you direct deposit, I assume?
Yes, Fulton
Okay.
County and the state of Georgia both pay me direct deposits.
Okay. So the cash that you would pay him, you wouldn't get it out of the bank.
I have money in my house.
You have money in your house. So it was just money that was there.
When you meet my father, he's going to tell you as a woman, you should always have, which I don't have, so let's don't tell him that. You should have at least 6 months in cash at your house at all times. Now, I don't know why this old black man feels like that, but he does. When we were growing up,
I mean,
my
I
daddy...
definitely think you should always keep some cash out. You know what I mean? Somewhere saving cash or something. Even if it's just saving change, like, you know what I mean? Like dollar bills, and you broke a 20, so you got a 10 and a 5. If you don't use it, put that up, you know what I mean? And eventually you'll end up stacking a couple G's, honestly. I mean, I do it myself, but I'm not sitting around with I'm not sitting around with cash to give somebody for a cruise and a trip to Aruba or anything like that. That's not the type of cash that I'm able to save up like that. Not saying that she ain't, but that she can't. But at the same time, she said she didn't go to no ATM or nothing to take any of that money out. She just has cash. So where does the cash come from? If you get direct deposit, if you're not cashing checks, how do you save up 6 months worth of cash without taking it out of your account?
We had 3 safes in the house. So my father's bought me a lockbox, and I always keep cash in the house. Now, I don't do it to the degree that my father would do it, so he would probably be ashamed with me, but I always have cash at the house. That has been, I don't know, all my life. If you're a woman and you go on a date with a man, you better have $200 in your pocket. So if that man acts up, you can go where you want to go. So I keep cash in my house, and I don't keep cash as good in my purse like I used to. I don't go on many dates, but when you go on a date, you should have cash in your pocket.
So my question was, where did that cash originally come from? If it didn't come out of the bank?
Cash is fungible. We've had cash for years in my house. So for me to tell you the source of when it comes from, when you go to Publix and you buy something, you get $50, you throw it in there. When it's been my whole life. When I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you I just have cash in my house. I don't have as much today as I would normally have, but
Now, I'm not necessarily sure what she meant by taking out money on her first campaign, because she also comes back and says that she paid for her first campaign, I believe.
building back up now. So you just put money in. It's a very good practice. I would advise it to all women.
So you can't identify when you came into this
All
cash or where the
people,
cash came
not
from.
just all women.
I didn't say I couldn't identify it. No, nobody gives me anything. I am sure that the source of the money is always the work, sweat, and tears of me. What you asked me for is, when did the money go in there? What I am trying to tell you is,
No, she said, when did you take the money out, and where did you take the money out at?
so I got divorced in 2005
Basically,
from
where
my
did the
husband.
cash come from?
No. It's important. You said, where did the money come from? And I need to tell you where the money came from.
She's
And so
answering your
for
question.
many years, I have kept money in my house. That money in my worst days has probably only been $500 or $1,000. At my best days, I probably had $15,000 in my house at cash. At all times, there's going to be cash in my house or wherever I'm laying my head.
The money that you paid Mr. Wade, the cash, in October of 2022, you do not know where that money came from.
I do know where it came from. It came from my sweat and tears.
You know which job it came from. Did it come from Fulton County or did it come from a private job?
It came from, what are you talking about? So it could have come from a
She's asking you, did you get the money from employment, from working? Or where did you get the money from? If you're working these jobs and it's not coming from your direct deposits out of your bank, then where is that fluctuation of cash coming from? You forget this is a hearing about money misdealings and an inappropriate relationship with your special prosecutor. That's why I say she shouldn't talk so much. She shouldn't talk as much as she's talking. Answer most of the yes or no questions or whatever. If look, point blank. The reason why she can't remember and she doesn't know, she's like deflecting from what this lady is actually asking her, is because if you say it came out of your bank account, well then now we're going to look at the bank accounts and see if there's a paper trail to that cash coming out. But if you don't, it's still the same thing. So where did you get the cash from? Where is the cash flow coming from if it's not coming from your place of employment, is what she's asking. And Fani understands that, man. It's a district attorney. I refuse to believe that a district attorney is that lost mentally, as far as knowing where the cash came from, knowing if she pulled it out, or knowing if this lady is asking you, did that money come from employment, especially when you're saying that it came from your hard blood, sweat, and tears. Like, come on. And you're prosecuting people on the stand? Man.
private job because before I was DA, I was in private practice. So I earned money during that time period that's probably in there.
You don't
It
know
could
where it
have, what do you mean I don't know where it came from? I
I
absolutely
understand
Dog
the
mom.
situation. We can move on.
I don't know why my chat. I don't know why my chat ain't working on my screen right now, but I do got my phone right here with the chat on my phone, so we're good.
Same with Aruba. You don't know where that cash came from either,
Hey,
right?
Sizzle,
Ma'am,
what's happening?
you are mischaracterizing my testimony greatly. I'm not going to allow you to mischaracterize my testimony. I know that I keep money in my house. The amounts of money I gave Mr. Wade, it was never that serious. I don't think I've ever handed him more than $2,500 in a
I still don't think
reimbursement.
that's what she's
So
asking, though.
we're not talking about $20,000 in cash. I don't have $20,000 in cash right now. The most I ever gave him, I know I gave him $2,500 when we went to Belize because we went to one hotel and then we went to a second hotel. That $2,500 I actually gave him while we were still in Belize. I know that the Aruba trip, the one that you described with his mom, I think I gave him about $2,000 for that trip for like total.
His mom went to Aruba with you?
The Aruba trip. So I consider that to be one trip. So we got off of a cruise ship and then we went to Aruba, which is why I cannot remember is that
Which she did say earlier that the mom was upset because when they went to Aruba, they left her behind. She kind of said it while the other lady was talking, but I did catch that. So I get what she's saying right there. But You telling me a cruise and a trip to Aruba is only like $2,500? Or let's see, put it together, 15 maybe. I mean, let's just call it 2,000, 4,500. So I can go on a cruise and go to Aruba for $45,000 or $4,500, not 1,100. Shit, I'm about to, let me call my booking agent real quick.
The time that we had to stay in Miami to wait for the flight for Aruba. So I consider that one trip that we didn't like come back to Atlanta and leave. We flew down to Miami. We got on a cruise ship. We spent a couple of days with his mama. We came back to Miami. When we came back to Miami, either that day or the next day, we flew to Aruba. We spent a few days in Aruba and we came back. That was really one trip, though. Even though we went 2 places, it was one trip.
So let's talk about the California trip.
Napa.
Is that when you were moving your daughter out to California? When you all went, or did you have 2 trips to California?
My daughter doesn't live in California.
Did she ever live in California?
I'm not discussing to you the location of my child.
So how many times did you go with Mr. Wade to California?
Once.
And you all stayed in Napa Valley and he paid for the plane tickets and the hotel?
He paid for the plane tickets and the hotel.
And what did you pay for on that trip?
I gave him much less cash that time, probably $400 or $500, and then I paid for a bunch of stuff. I think we did 2 different wine tours.
Now I looked it up, and it don't really cost much, but that's the cheap flights. You know what I mean? And I'm sure with who she is, she ain't about to take no cheap flight. Most likely first class,
Which are pretty expensive. I think I bought him. He likes wine. I don't really like wine, to be honest with you. I like Grey Goose. I bought him a bottle of wine while we were there, and the sippings that you do. I can't remember how many, like 4 or 5 different places you go. I remember we went to
Yep, she's another one that go around in circles.
this place that they do pairings. That was the most expensive thing that I think that we did while we were there. So they would pair champagne, chocolate, and caviar. It was a 3, and it was like 3 different things: Sweden, Russia, someplace else. I'll make that up. But that was the most expensive thing we did that trip, and I paid for that.
You pay cash?
For us doing that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that trip did not cost me a lot of money. I might have took like $750 in cash on me because we weren't gone very long.
I'd only asked if you paid in cash. I don't even know the amounts.
When I travel, I always take cash.
And is the cash that you keep in your house, or do you keep it at the condo that you were living in?
So at that point, it wouldn't be at my house, and I'm sorry if I was not clear. The money would be wherever I laid my head. So I wouldn't leave the money at the house. So if I was unclear, no, money's going to be where I stay.
How much did you pay for your trip to Panama?
To where?
Panama, I believe.
I didn't go to Panama.
I may have the location wrong.
I never went to Panama.
So after
Mr. Wade went to Panama with his frat brother.
Oh, he went to Panama with his frat brothers. So tell me about, let's see. So I want to make sure I've got them. I've got Belize. You already covered Belize. You covered the...
So let me tell you our real trips. In October, we went on the cruise with his mom. We got back from the cruise with his mom and we went to Aruba. I consider that one trip. Second trip, New Year's Eve, we went on.
So you guys took a flight. Where she said she spent maybe like $700 and something, and she was already kind of frantic about taking I'm guessing from Atlanta, Georgia to Florida before they took the cruise. So that's like 700, let's call it 750, close to 800. Then with that same 2,500, you got on a cruise, which you already depleted. Okay, yeah. I mean, depending on the prices, it low-key matches up, but then she gets to talking about champagne and caviar and Aruba and all that type of stuff. Like, you're not spending that much money, but you're buying expensive stuff, and caviar and shit ain't cheap, neither is champagne. And I'm just guessing that you're using you know what I mean, you getting the expensive stuff. You live in high class, which the money ain't really matching up.
On a cruise to the Bahamas. That's the second trip. I want to make sure I get this right. Third trip, 100% on me. I think he might have spent $200 on that entire trip. We went to Belize. That was my trip. That was, his 50th. And then Napa Valley.
$200?
We went around May.
The entire trip
I don't know
to
the dates, but it seems to me like it was close to Mother's Day.
I don't know. Maybe my
And those are the only
mathematics
trips?
is messed up right now.
So that the record is complete. I can remember one time driving to, where were we? South Carolina, and we met my sister for lunch with her man.
When was that?
I don't know, but we didn't stay the night there. But I guess people would consider that a trip if you drive somewhere and you come back. That was insane because it was like 5 hours to drive. We ate lunch and we drove right back. I can remember
She don't
driving
remember
to
a lot.
some little town in Georgia. I don't even know where I was. I had never been there before or after. There's some boat you can get on over to, and they're like a slave thing, if that gives anyone any reference. We didn't do that. I remember doing that. I remember driving one time to Charlotte. We had lunch with one of my very close girlfriends.
It's low key. Listen, it like you put the district attorney in the hot seat. In the hot seat that usually defendants, which are most likely criminals, are sitting in. And you tend to act just like anybody would act in that seat. You feel what I'm saying? Because you don't remember this, you don't remember that, and I get it, but I don't think in this situation it's necessarily helping Fani, especially trying to allocate the funds that you say you had that was in cash. And all this cash, possible to be no money trail. And I think that's what they're kind of looking for. But if she can't give them no money trail, it's like, okay, well then where did the money come from? Did it come from your employment?
And again, we drove to Charlotte, met my girlfriend for lunch, and drove right back. So that's a trip. We didn't stay the night there, but I just want to be complete in my testimony. We drove someplace, had lunch, drove back. I don't remember another driving someplace distant for lunch and coming back to Charlotte to see a girlfriend, to meet my sister in South Carolina. We went by ourselves when I told you about that remote place in Georgia. We could have driven someplace else and had lunch and came back, but that's all that comes to my recollection right now. There could have been another place we drove and had lunch. My security team was very clear to me. I'm not to be out and about.
Like, I'm sorry for pausing it again, man, but it's crazy that you got this much to say, but you don't remember anything. You don't remember nothing. You remember all the events, but you just don't have no recollection of where it was, where this was, unless we talking about cruises and Aruba and Belize and stuff like that. But then when you get to these places, you don't remember what y'all did. But we know we had caviar and champagne. I remember all the hot, man, come on, man. Like I said, if she was on the other end and there was a defendant sitting there, she'd be tearing their ass up for all that.
In Atlanta without them.
It's crazy when you in
for
the
me
hot
to do
seat.
something just very normal that a normal person would get to do, if they weren't prosecuting this case, I got to drive 4 hours to do it.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Your security detail, did they take you to and from your house?
So I haven't been able to enjoy my home.
Condo, I'm sorry.
Since
And
March of
where you lay your head? Did they take you to and from where
Now
you lay
that's
your head?
messed up. No matter what or how I feel about this lady or how anybody feel about this lady, she should not be ran up out of her house due to threats and stuff like that from people just based off of the Trump situation. Now, I'm not against Trump. I'm not against Biden. I'm not for Trump and I'm not for Biden. You know what I'm saying? The establishment sucks to me. But this lady, and I'm not trying to defend her, but she shouldn't have to move out of her house, or her kids and family shouldn't be in threat based off of the job that she has to do. You know what I mean? Does she get overbearing sometime? Yeah. And in this situation, what do you expect? They're going to comb through everything as a defense because you got Trump over there trying to defend himself, which I think it didn't even matter that she was on this or on the case or not. I think that's already set in stone. But Now you're on the hot seat because you decided to bring somebody that you were laying up with on the case with you. Now, I know she tries to play it like he didn't work under her or anything like that, like they just did business together or whatever, but it don't seem that way. And if he's working up under you, well, then that's in an inappropriate relationship through the workplace.
99% of the time.
Would they take Mr. Wade to and from wherever you laid your head?
Definitely shouldn't
That
have
has
been on the
never
case with
in the history of ever happened, ever,
was the
okay?
worst
Your
mistake
security
you made.
team has never taken him?
From my house, that's a lie.
I'm
That's
asking
another,
if they've ever taken him anywhere.
and I'm telling you that that's never happened.
So your security team has never taken
My
Mr. Wade anywhere?
security team has never taken Mr. Wade from any place where I have lived and brought him here. Never, not once, not ever.
Have they ever taken the two of you together?
To where?
Anywhere.
But we've left this building and for gone to lunch, but I go to lunch so rarely that is a very rare occasion. I am sure, and let me be clear, it wouldn't just be Mr. Wade. So I'm sure my security team has taken me to lunch. Probably been a time I've left here 7 o'clock, gone to get something to eat, and I don't even know that they would have taken him or if he would have driven himself, but they've taken me to do that. But we're talking very few, very far in between. Most days I don't even eat lunch, and when I do, it's because my assistant has heated up some bag, something, and I eat through meetings and eat in my office. It's not a practice of mine to go to lunch.
During the time period that you were dating, would your security team ever take you two together anywhere?
No.
Never.
If there was a lunch that occurred that I just described, if there was a meal that occurred that I just described, anything outside of that, and it needs to be very clear, not often, once,
Excuse the
twice,
sound in the
because I want to be over-inclusive.
My wife is up getting ready for work, so the coffee going and stuff, so.
I'm saying once or twice. I'm not certain that it happened, but I'd rather be over-inclusive with you.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
And, well, no, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives. You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
So my question was,
Damn.
do you have any
I
problem?
object to getting any personal records of mine.
We're not dealing with privilege through a witness.
And I'm not, no, I'm not dealing with privilege. What we had offered to put them in camera for the court to review, and I just want to know if she has any
That's not something
problem.
you deal with a witness.
Okay, you have to file as part of your job something called an income and financial disclosure report, correct?
That's correct.
And you filed your first one, so you filed 2 to date, is that right?
Is it 2 or 3? I probably would have filed 21, 22, and maybe I haven't filed 23 yet, because isn't it due like June of the next year?
April, I believe. So you filed, let's see, you filed your first one, it looks like April 15th, 2022, and your second one, April 17th, 2023. Does that sound familiar?
That I don't remember the dates, but you're an officer of the court. I'm gonna hope you're telling the truth now.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Thank you. I already gave the state a copy.
You are an officer of the court as well that don't remember anything about your own life. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but it just doesn't make sense to me as her being a lead district attorney. You know what I mean? That also pries into people's personal lives to convict people, criminals nonetheless. But you do the same thing, and she's right. She's not necessarily on trial right now. Is nasty as she said that to that woman, but she's not necessarily on trial right now. But you do have some misdealings, and this is a hearing that could eventually put you on trial for especially if it comes down to the money situation. Then it would be fraud and or money laundering or anything of the sort. You know what I mean? Especially shit like tax evasion and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'd be real careful of what you're speaking on before it turns into something else.
Is it a 20 and 21 if you take a look at those?
Point still stands. You made the wrong decision.
Can somebody bring me
you're
some?
sleeping
Yeah.
with on the case with you against Donald Trump's whole little entourage. That was the biggest mistake you made. As the lead district attorney down in Atlanta, why would you do that? Why would you not have the mental capacity to understand not to do that? Because it's the same exact thing you would have did. You would have pried right into that had it been on the other foot.
Guys are getting a little old. Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
those are the ones that you filed.
This looks like me for sure. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Judge, we'd move to admit 20 and 21.
I think you need to delineate which one's which
20
one's which.
is 2021, so it accounts for the time period, Your Honor, January the 1st, 21 through December the 31st, 2021. That is Defendant's Exhibit 20. Defendant's Exhibit 2021, it accounts for the time period, January the 1st, 2022 through December the 1st of 2022.
All right. Any objection to exhibits 20 and 21
Nope,
No,
sorry.
from other counsel? Admitted without objection.
Yeah. When did your personal relationship with Mr. Wade end?
Our personal relationship ended in this year. So let's be very clear so that we don't mix words. I don't want to mix words in here. Mr. Wade is my friend right now. Mr. Wade, I would say, has been my friend since 2020. I think he started out as like a mentor and a professional colleague. He became my friend and somebody that I really respected. I feel very indebted to Mr. Wade for taking on the task of this job. And he is certainly my friend and one of the people that I respect the most. So if you ask about a personal relationship, I consider myself to have a personal relationship right now, Mr. Wade. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Anna Cross. I consider myself to have a personal relationship with Mr. Abadi. I consider myself to have a
They lucky I ain't got my clip up of Daryl Brooks talking about knowing what personal relationships are.
personal relationship with Andrew Evans.
Okay, let me just
And so
clarify that
I
before we
have
go.
a personal relationship with him as we speak right now.
A romantic
I don't think that's what you're asking. I think that's what
Romantic
you're asking.
relationship. When did your romantic relationship with Mr. Wade
Let her
end?
ask it.
My-
When did it end?
Me and Mr. Wade, we are good friends. My respect for him has grown over these 7 weeks of it. I think that you have cemented that we'll be friends till the day we die.
Let's.
Could we just have an answer to the question?
I can handle Mr. Seda. Let's have
She
it.
asked about a personal relationship.
She asked when the romantic relationship ended. That's the question.
Yep.
It's
It's about time, Judge. It's about time you step in and say something.
Time in, I'd say late summer of 2023. So I don't believe me and, this is what you're really asking about. This is the salaciousness of all of this, right?
No, I'm just
When
asking about
you're
your
re-
romantic relationship. When you stopped dating? Asking.
I think that me and Mr. Wade, so he's a man. He probably would say June or July.
Wow.
I would say we had a tough conversation in August.
Now she's speaking for the man. Y'all caught that, right? See, he's a man, so he'd probably say this time, but I'm gonna say this. You know what I mean? Don't try to say what you think he might say, just based on that you don't want to mince words and say something wrong that he didn't say. So you can't use that whole he's a man, and she does that a few times talking about what men do. And I'm sorry, women. Ladies, y'all got to stop doing that, because y'all do not like it when a man tell you what a woman is going to do or what a woman should do. But you do get a lot of occasions where women are saying what the man is going to do. You don't know that. No matter if you were sleeping with him or not. That's the difference between men and women, is we do think different. But y'all don't want us to speak for y'all, and this is not no slash at all at women like that. It's not no slash at men. But in my experience, females don't want you to tell her as a man what women do or how women feel. So you can't use that one with me. he's a man. So I don't even know why you said it like that.
So that men in relationships at the end of physical intimacy, women in relationships when that tough conversation takes place.
And where, when did he come to, I guess,
get
the
what she's
condo?
saying,
I'm not sure
but
what you
come
called
on
it,
now.
condo apartment. Would he come and stay at that condo or visit you there? I'm sorry, visit you there.
What condo, what apartment? I want to be clear.
So not your house. I know you classified one as house and one as condo. So I'm trying to use those terms.
So but there's been more see, what you don't understand is because of this case, I got to move. And so I
Ms.
need
Merchant, if you
to,
could ask a more precise question.
yes, please give me the time period. That we're
Mr.
talking
Wade visited you at the place you laid your head.
about. When?
Has he ever visited you at the place you laid your head?
So let's be clear, because you
Ever.
lied in this. Let me tell you which one you lied in. Right here. I think you lied right here.
No, I'm gonna.
No. This is the truth,
Judge,
And
this
it is a lie. It is a lie.
Ms. Willis?
This is the
You
district
see.
attorney.
Mr. Sena, thank you.
This is the lead district attorney. Flipping out.
We're going to take 5 minutes. Be back in 5.
How often did Mr. Wade visit you at a place where you were
This
living
is a lie.
between 2019 and 2021?
So you want to start with the lie that he lived with me in South Fulton in 2019, a home he's never been to? That's one lie you told in your
Judge,
document.
I-
No,
Judge, I didn't ask her about that.
Ms. Merchant, I want you to ask a very precise question. I think she's saying and answering that he did not live with her. So why don't we break that up into smaller
Ever.
parts?
And I didn't ask about living.
but you put in your, while we're talking about professionalism, while we're talking about professionalism, she put in 3 different documents he
You'll
lived
have
with me
full opportunity to respond.
In
and
2000
filed that with the court.
in
professionally.
2019,
He's never been to South Fulton. In 2019, I lived in South Fulton. He has never been to my residence in 2019, ever, not once.
in
2020?
2019, he's never been to your residence, any place.
I lived in my home in South Fulton before I started getting the threats that were here, a house I paid for with my own sweat and tears. I'm no longer able to live there. But in 2019,
Now, what got me is when I was listening to her father's testimony, and they talk about the guy. Now, it could have been another guy, but I could have sworn it was Mr. Wade. I could have sworn the dad said that he was a DJ or something at the same time, so he used to always have to, he used to always have all his stuff, his equipment and stuff all over the place. If I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna have to go over that one again, and then we're gonna do a show on that one.
I did. And in the 2 months of 2019 that I knew Mr. Wade, 3 months, the beginning of October, all of November, and all of December, Mr. Wade never came to my house in South Fulton. Let me help you out. I lived there in 2020. He never came to my house in 2020, let alone live with me, as you put falsely in these documents. In the first 3 months of 2021, when I could still enjoy my home, Mr. Wade never came to South Fulton, and it is certainly a lie that he lived with me.
Seemed like she
So
getting a
in
little
2020,
offensive, huh?
so you said 2019, 2020. Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at a place that you
He
resided?
has never been to my home in South Fulton. 2020 was before I knew that a phone call was going to be made and I was going to have to abandon my home. As a result thereof, he never visited, lived at, came to, or has seen South Fulton.
You qualified that with your home in South
She
Fulton.
getting defensive.
I'm
That's where I
asking,
lived in 2020.
2020, did he ever visit you at a place that you resided?
Okay. I don't understand. You're going to give me guidance. In 2020, I
she's-
lived in South Fulton.
Okay.
That's the only place I lived in South Fulton. That's before I had to abandon my home, Judge.
All right.
And at my
Well,
home
I
in
think we're gonna
South
clarify
Fulton,
this. We'll break it
he never came there, okay? So if you don't
Ms.
come
Willis.
someplace, you can't live there.
But
Ms. Willis,
she won't
that's-
even let
I'm
the
gonna have to
judge
caution
talk.
this. This is going to be my first time out to caution you. We have to listen to the questions as asked. And if this happens again and again, I'm going to have no
Thank you,
choice but to
Judge.
strike your testimony. So we need to break this down. Ms. Merchant's question, I believe, was asking whether you lived anywhere other than South Fulton.
I did not live anywhere but South Fulton, Georgia in 2020. That is before I began my prosecution of this case, and it was my plan to only live there.
Did Mr. Wade ever visit you at the condo that you leased from Miss Yurdi?
He visited that condo, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Did he ever spend the night at that condo?
No.
Just visited.
Yeah, but he did visit for sure.
Did you ever go out to eat together, other than the lunches you talked about,
In
during
2020?
2019 or 2020?
I would think that we probably went to lunch, but it wouldn't have been, let me think, 2019. I'm going to say,
Look, now the
I don't know.
defensiveness is
I'm going to
gone.
say we probably broke bread someplace in 2019. I don't remember it, but it seems like we would have broke bread sometime in
course,
2019.
she doesn't
So I'm
remember
going to say
again.
yes, although I have no recollection. But it seems to me like I go out to eat and drink with pretty much everyone. So I'm going to say yes.
So outside of the vacations that we've already talked about, did you ever go out to dinner with Mr. Wade?
I mentioned to you that I
I'm gonna object as to what time period. Like, we're asking very vague questions. I thought we were treating the witness as hostile under 611. We're no longer doing that. So we're gonna go back and forth. We need to be more specific with our questions if we're gonna treat her as hostile.
All right, Ms. Merchant, it's not so much, I think you can elect between leading and open-ended questions, but I think we are still wondering about, and I think we need to get back on track of focusing on the financial benefit or the relationship.
And my next
thought that's
question,
what she
next
was
question
focusing
about
on.
if
I could have sworn that's what the lady was focusing on. It's funny that keep going off into other things. I go out to drink with lots of people and stuff like that, and I have no recollection.
you did, who paid when you went out to dinner?
he paid, I paid.
You both paid.
Okay, so let me be real clear. We didn't say, oh, the bill is $102. You give $51, I'll give $51.
I don't think that's what
I
she
don't operate like that
asked,
with my
or she
girlfriends. I don't
said.
operate like that with anyone. He caught the bill, I caught the bill. Whomever.
Did you ever pay him through Cash App?
No.
You only ever paid him through cash?
Well, yes. But we're talking about, I'm very confused
You've
now.
never
like,
given Mr. Wade money through Cash App.
No.
The only money you've ever given him outside of a contract is cash.
I didn't give him money in a contract, so that was cute, but I didn't give him money outside in a contract. What happened, no, we're going to answer it since you said it. He worked more hours than he was paid, and the county paid him for the work that he did. So don't be cute with me and then think that you're not going to get an answer.
And I will ask you about the contract in a minute. I asked you about cash. Did you ever pay him anything? And I'm trying to qualify my questions. I'm not talking about the contract with Fulton County that was paid. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about outside of that. Did you ever pay him anything other than cash?
I've only given him cash a few times in the course of what we're talking about.
So you've
if
never
we
used
would
your
go to
credit card?
dinner,
Let her finish her answer.
if we would go to dinner, I wouldn't give him cash because he paid for dinner or I paid for dinner. I've given him cash only a few times in life, probably 4.
Okay.
Probably the most money I've ever handed him is $2,500. The least amount of money I've handed him, probably between $500 and $1,000.
You never wrote him a check?
Ma'am, I don't have checks.
I don't think nobody has
So you
checks.
have no proof of any reimbursement for any
I
of these
guess some
things because it was all cash, right?
The testimony of one witness is enough to prove a fact.
So my
Are you
question was,
telling
do
me
you
that
have
I'm
any
lying to you?
proof?
Is that what you're intimating right here?
I'm asking if you have any proof that you paid him any of these
The
monies.
proof is what I just told you.
You have no written proof. Is that correct?
So I have some, probably some transactions like in Belize. I probably spent $500 on my card in Belize. I spent I can't remember, $900 on each of our tickets to go to Belize. I did the $700. I probably got some minor expenses in Aruba that would be on a card. But for the most part, for those trips, other than, so the 2 cruises, I gave him money for those before we ever left because they were pre-booked. Let me answer.
Well, the question was if you had any written proof. And so
I've answered you that I've had written
we
proof.
can move
for
to the next question if you've answered if you had any written proof, and that was my question.
I want to make sure that we're clear that for the 2 cruises,
Judge,
and that's
I
the
asked if
cruise
she gave
plus
him written
Aruba.
proof.
We're not going to talk over each other. Ms. Merchant, she answered your question, so we can ask the next question. Ms. Willis and Ms. Cross will have plenty of opportunities to let you clarify your answers when it's her turn.
Thank you, Judge. Knowing your role
Oh,
as district attorney.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. The boyfriend before Show Poodle said the boyfriend before Mr. Wade was the DJ. Okay, I was wondering that because I'm brand new to looking over this case or whatever. because I've been so stuck on the Daryl Brooks and the Sarah Boone and all that. But I'm brand new at this case, so thank you for clarifying that for me.
You know that public funds are scrutinized and money is scrutinized and things like that. You understand?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You understand you're under a microscope. You have reporting requirements, all of those types of things. You have no record other than your testimony of the money that you've given Mr. Wade.
You've already
As
asked
a
that
district
question.
attorney, she definitely supposed to understand that she's under a microscope as far as money dealings.
Let's keep going.
When you took office, you had a tax lien of $4,600. Did you pay that with cash when you made that tax lien whole?
I probably paid through, however you pay.
Okay. So, but you were saying that you had amounts of cash. You still had that lien in 2022 when you were dating Wade and going on these trips. So the cash that you gave him, that could have been used to pay this tax lien off?
You gonna tell me how to pay my
I'm gonna
bills?
object. This is not relevant as it relates to why we're here today.
Mr. Merchant, are you trying to establish that she was insolvent in some way?
I definitely was trying to establish that she did not have these mass amounts of cash that she's talking about, yes.
All right. Re-ask the question.
You had a tax lien in 2022, $4,600.
Did you say I did?
And you did not use this cash that you had to reimburse Mr. Wade to pay that off, correct?
No.
Okay.
I went shopping too when I didn't pay it off.
And you talked about, you gave a lot of interviews to some authors of a book called Fani, right?
I would not characterize it as a lot. I probably have spoken to them 2 or 3 times.
My question is relevant as to.
I think it's already come up that finances are discussed in the book. I'll overrule that.
Thank you.
Ms. Wilson, you can continue your answer.
What came up with Mr. Wade as it relates to hearsay statements that he was asked about in relation to what Ms. Willis may or may not have said in relation to an author. So it's not relevant to the testimony that's occurring at this time.
I think Ms. Merchant has said that inside the book, she also makes a statement as to her own finances, and that's at issue.
So you gave interviews to the authors of this book, correct?
Once or twice.
Okay. And
3 times, just to be comprehensive. I don't know if it was 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I think.
you were quoted in the book, and I will give you a chance to say if this is a misquote. You were quoted, when they asked you about if you wanted to run for office for DA, you were quoted, "I really don't want to be financially effed up again." Do you remember saying that?
So what that refers to,
My question first is if you remember saying that.
I remember saying something similar to that, but I would like to be able to explain what that's in
fine.
reference to. That's not in reference to anything else. It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney in Fulton County. Huge. I was doing just fine. I had a municipal court judgeship that was paying me $100-something thousand a year, and like you got to show up twice a week. Easiest thing I've ever done in life. I also had private clients that were paying me to represent them. So I was able to have a law practice and that. Raising 2 daughters by myself, there were times in life where things were hard. And so I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. I don't want to run for DA. I'm in a good position right now. I got this easy job that I enjoy, being the chief judge of the city of South Fulton. I'm making money at the law firm, and I'm not sure that I want to make this sacrifice. And why does it always have to be me? Eventually, I prayed. I think that I was the appropriate person. I think that I did that. So when you're referring to that, what I'm saying is, why should I make a sacrifice again? And what I was not talking about is being district attorney. Once you get elected district attorney, you're in a fine financial position. I make over $200,000 a year. What I was talking about is I ran for judge. When I ran for judge, I took $50,000 of my personal money out of my retirement, and that money ended up being lost. And I know when you bet on yourself, you're going to have to bet money on yourself. And so what I was talking about was not wanting to go through the personal financial expense of running for office. By no means did I think that I was going to be financially in a bad position once I won. Let's talk about what I was up against, because it's important to understand that comment. I had a district attorney who had been here for...
She's kind of rambling in circles right there, because she just confused the hell out of me based off of what the attorney asked her. I could have sworn she asked her she didn't want to run for DA because she doesn't want to be financially effed up. I could have swore, but I could be wrong because I'm like I said, I'm listening for the first time. We will touch back on all this, you know what I mean? But she said that she was in a position where she was a judge and she was handling private clients with the law firm, and with the district attorney situation, like she said, I guess if she's going to be the judge or the DA or whatever, she's going to be financially okay. She kind of switched it up and said, I make over $200,000 a year as the district attorney, so I was going to be okay right there. What I meant by that was running for judge, but you just said that you was already the judge and handling private clients with the law firm. And you even said, why does it always have to be me, basically running for district attorney, running for office? So now I'm confused.
24 years. People, no, it's very relevant as to what my mindset was about this. So I'm trying to answer your question. So what I was saying is
tailored solely to finance.
Right, but it is about my finances. If I didn't, nobody put me in this seat. So I had already run for office once. I had spent $50,000 of my own money running, and it was vamoose, nothing. And so when I'm talking to those offers, I'm talking about the contemplation.
Ms. Merchant has said that it.
And so I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. $100-something a year, and
That's about correct.
once or twice.
Okay. And
Just to be comprehensive. I don't know if it was 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I think.
you were quoted in the book, and I will give you a chance to say if this is a misquote. You were quoted, when they asked you about if you wanted to run for office for DA, you were quoted, I really don't want.
See, I knew I heard that. You was quoted in the book saying if you wanted to run for office for DA, for district attorney,
to be financially effed up again.
I don't
Do you
wanna
remember
be
saying that?
financially effed
So
up
what that
again.
refers to, so that
My question first is if you remember saying that.
I remember saying something similar to that, but I would like to be able to explain what that's in
fine.
reference to. That's not in reference to anything else. It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney in Fulton County. Huge. I was doing just fine. I had a municipal court
See what I
judgeship.
mean? It was a huge sacrifice to be district attorney. I was doing just fine, and this is when she starts talking about she was the judge, she was the lead judge, and also had private clients.
That was paying me $100-something a year, and like you got to show up twice a week. Easiest thing I've ever done in life. I also had private clients that were paying me to represent them, so I was able to have a law practice and that. Raising 2 daughters by myself, there were times in life where things were hard, and so I was telling people, I don't really run for DA. I don't want to run for DA. I'm in a good position right now. I got this easy job that I enjoy, being the chief judge of the city of South Fulton. I'm making money at the law firm, and I'm not sure that I want to make this sacrifice. And why does it always have to be me? Eventually, I prayed. I think that I was the appropriate person. I think that...
Mind you, one more time, just so we don't forget. The attorney asked her about the quote in the book about she didn't want to run for DA because she doesn't want to be financially effed up.
I did that. So when you're referring to that, what I'm saying is, why should I make a sacrifice again? And what I was not talking about is being district attorney. Once you get elected district attorney, you're in a fine financial position. I make over $200,000.
See what I mean? She wasn't talking about that, but you just answered to the quote. And she literally said, DA, you didn't want to run for district attorney because you didn't want to be financially effed up. Now you're saying I wouldn't be basically in a financial burden because as a district attorney, I make over $200,000 a year.
A year. What I was talking about is I ran for judge. When I ran for judge, I took $50,000 of my personal money out of my retirement, and that
doesn't make sense because you're the district attorney right now. You said you didn't want to run for DA because you didn't want to be financially effed up in your book. Now you're talking about when you ran for judge. Nah, you mix some things up right there.
money ended up being lost. And I know when you bet on yourself, you're going to have to bet money on yourself. And so what I was talking about was not wanting to go through the personal financial expense of running for office. by no means did I think that I was going to be financially in a bad position once I won. Let's talk about what I was up against, because it's important to understand that comment. I had a
I'm
district.
gonna give her the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, if you put up your own money to run for judge, maybe you didn't want to put up your own money to run for DA because you didn't want to be financially messed up. But you also said if you run for DA and you become the district attorney, you won't be financially messed up after that. So, I mean, maybe she's saying she didn't want to put the money up and go through the financial burden until she got in, or what. But I don't know. In your book, it said you didn't want to be financially effed up. That's why you didn't want to run for district attorney, not a judge, because you were already the judge at, I guess, when the time you're talking about. Maybe you was misquoted or something. I don't know. I'm not gonna say she wasn't, because that'd be wrong. And maybe she's trying to correct it now, because she also says later on, you know what I mean, and we'll get to that in another episode, but if it doesn't come up here shortly, but she also says, I've never read this book. I mean, you don't proofread or even just read for casual entertainment your own book to see what's in there. You feel what I'm saying? Anything could be in that book. If somebody wrote a book for me, I'm gonna read that book. If I put down everything and a writer wrote what I'm saying and stuff like that, I'm going to go back and read that book myself, because I would like to know what was put in that book, and was it exactly how I said it, and what was wrong with the book, what didn't I say, and how was I misquoted or anything. I'm going to proofread the book that's written on me.
Attorney who had been here for 24 years. People, no, it's very relevant as to what my mindset was.
Man, these judges is crazy. These judges are crazy, man. He just let her go on and on, but kept striking the attorney every time, around every corner. If Fani felt a certain way, the judge was, you know what I mean, the judge was letting the objections go from Fani's lawyer, everything, cutting her all the way down. And if she's trying to get to the meat and potatoes, of this whole thing, well, then there's certain things she got to ask. You know what I mean? It's not her fault that Fani keeps rambling off at the mouth and opening the door
about this. So I'm trying to answer your question. So what I was saying is
tailored solely to finance.
Right, but it is about my finances.
If
I didn't, nobody put me in the seat. So I had already run for office once. I had spent $50,000 of my own money running, and it was vamoose, nothing. And so when I'm talking to those offers, I'm talking about the contemplation of the sacrifice of the run, not the sacrifice of once you become DA. The odds were against me. I was likely going to lose the election based on who I was running against. So that needs to be in the appropriate context.
Isn't it true that the authors also wrote, and you can dispute this if you'd like, that you were broke after that race?
The 2018 race.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a hard race. I wasn't broke like I didn't have any. So broke is relative to depending where you are, but that hurt to lose that $50,000. So I'm sure my mental mindset was like, I just gave $50,000 away.
Right. So they characterized it from their conversations with you that you were broke, you had poured your own money into the campaign, and you weren't able to pay your own bills because of your clients couldn't pay their bills to you, and you had a paltry array of family and asset forfeiture cases. It says you were trying to make it month to month. Is that an accurate depiction of your financial situation at that point?
I would want to read that, but I don't remember clients not being able to pay their bills. Or
may I approach, Judge?
You can.
You may.
Page 13.
I have not read this book.
Let me reiterate, I have not read this book.
So like this fact here, her ex-husband Fred had run into a financial. I have no information about that.
I didn't ask about that. I just asked about if what they represent from their interviews with you, that you were broke and that you had clients that weren't able to pay their bills.
Can you show me where that is? Because this is where you put the tab, so that's where I read.
Broke, couldn't pay their bills.
Yeah, that I'm sure I characterized myself as broke as leaving that $50,000. I don't know that I had her nascent law practice at paltry array.
Well, you just
I didn't have.
Ms. Merchant.
I didn't attest. I thought I had a law practice. So this is not correct. I'm sure it's just I didn't have any asset forfeiture cases. So I had one case where they had took one of my clients' money at the airport. I don't know if that's what they're I don't know. Paltry array. I did have family law cases. I guess that's what they're talking about. And clients who couldn't pay their bills ain't clients. So no.
Damn.
So
Clients that can't pay their bills ain't clients. That's for sure.
my question was just if this was a fair and accurate representation where it says you were trying to make it month to month at that point in time.
No, I don't think that that is actually a fair and accurate representation, but I am certain that after the 2018 election, I'm still not really happy about having given up that $50,000.
Well, that's why you read the book and proofread the book so that you know if you was misquoted or anything like that, which I don't believe you were misquoted. I believe you was selling a book. So I most definitely believe you said that. You was broke, living month to month. Everybody couldn't pay their bills. You know, the victimhood of it.
You know when you paid your tax lien?
I don't.
You don't? Do you know if you paid it?
I know I've paid some taxes. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Did you tell anyone at Fulton County Board of County Commissioners?
This woman don't know nothing about her own life. Nothing. And I get it. You know what I mean? You gonna play it up in the court system or whatever. But what would you do if you was on the other end questioning somebody just like you have, just like your career dictates that you do?
About your relationship with Mr. Wade?
No.
Did you disclose your relationship to anybody at Fulton County?
No, I don't think so.
And as the chief law enforcement officer of Fulton County, I assume that you're familiar with the county code and ordinances?
I've said we're not going to cover that in this hearing, Ms. Merchant.
I'm sorry, Judge?
I think we said we weren't going to cover the county regulations.
Okay, and I won't. Let me ask you this then. So, are you?
You see what I mean? It's just, like if this was on, if this is what is on the table, the relationship and benefiting from the relationship as far as money, then why wouldn't you address the county regulations? If that's exactly, you know what I mean, that's like directly a part of this is the regulations as far as relations with colleagues and stuff like that.
Are you aware that you're required to disclose any relationship with someone that you contract with in Fulton County?
I'm going to object to the court's prior ruling that you made this morning.
Would this be different because it's a potential for impeachment?
Yes.
What did you ask me?
Ms. Merchant, if you could re-ask the question.
Okay. Are you aware that Fulton County requires you to disclose any relationship with someone that you're doing business with?
I'm not aware, and I know often that things are confused with state constitutional officers in county, but I'm not aware.
Okay.
So
it's not your
attorney who's not aware about sexual relationships with colleagues. This is, come on, man.
So it's your understanding that you don't have a duty to disclose the
She's
relationship.
answered that question. Let's keep going.
Did you keep track of this cash that you paid him at all?
What are you talking? I don't understand.
Did you keep track? Did you keep a ledger? Did you keep track of it?
Well, I've only given him cash, as I
Why is this
mentioned.
person convicting people? Why is this person a district attorney if she doesn't understand English? She doesn't understand anything. She doesn't remember nothing. You know what I mean? And then she gets combative, but you don't remember nothing. So why are you getting mad and combative? Just continue. I don't remember nothing. You know, I wear Stevie Wonder glasses and I just don't see nothing. Like, come on, man. But this is the district attorney that's over here trying to convict people, convict criminals nonetheless. But if you don't remember anything, you don't understand your obligation to your job and messing around with colleagues. You don't understand the regulations. You don't remember what cruise you went on. You don't remember what flights you took. You remember eating caviar, sipping champagne. You know you drink Grey Goose. You don't remember how much money you was giving people. And no, just whatever somebody told me that that I had to pay them, I paid them. That shit just don't make sense as a district attorney. Not saying that you guys are just A1 perfect, but I'm sure you know how much money you was giving people. I'm sure you know how much money you gave Robin for rent and shit like that. I'm sure of it. Even though I'm not sure of it, but I'm sure of it. Because as a district attorney, you would think they're more well put together than that. Or else why are you a district attorney weighing over somebody's life? Whether that be financially or criminally. You know what I'm saying? Whether that be taking somebody's money or putting somebody in prison. Why would you be able to see over stuff like that? And I mean, regardless, she's still a lawyer. So just like she went into church and lied and all that type of stuff, I expect lawyers to lie. But if you don't remember anything, what are you doing being a district attorney for a county? Be better off being a defense attorney.
3 or 4 times. There's no ledger. This is friends handing money off to each other.
So the answer is no, you didn't keep
And I think
that.
you've already asked whether there was any written proof whatsoever, and she's
Yes.
answered that.
Okay.
So we've covered this. Let's move on.
How's it friends handing money off to each other if you guys are doing it through work, contract work? She's not asking about dates right now. She's not asking about going on dates and going to eat filet mignon and all that type of stuff. She's talking about payment for services, and you say it's friends handing money off to each other? Pfft, you smooth. Let's slide up under that tax radar.
Who were you referring to when you suggested that Mr. Roman's motion to disqualify was racially motivated?
We already said we're not talking about the forensic misconduct that's been alleged.
Okay.
And just so the record is clear, I don't believe I said that his motion was racially motivated, so I don't want that to stay there. I've never said his motion was racially motivated, so that should not be
Ms. Willis,
true.
I
if
think
she
it would
wrote
be
that.
best if we don't need to go down that road. We're going to save that for argument.
You once said that you would not engage with a personal relationship with anyone that worked for Fulton County. Is that correct?
An employee?
Anyone that worked for Fulton County.
I think I said an employee.
Okay. So that's the qualification you give an employee. You would.
I think that's a statement that I made, so if you want to quote me accurately.
So it's your position because Mr. Wade
Your
was.
book didn't quote you accurately to, you know what I mean, if we're listening to you, but you allowed the book to misquote you that you didn't read, which I refuse to believe that.
Not an employee, or it's your position he wasn't an employee, correct?
Mr. Wade is not an employee, and he will tell you that over and over again.
Just one moment, Judge.
Now, I want to get into to body language and all that because I'm real good at that, but I ain't even gonna do it like that on this one. Because body language will tell you a lot.
I'm sorry, the statement, just so I make sure I accurately quote you. What you said was you won't sleep with people who work under you. Do you not consider Mr. Wade working under you?
I consider Mr. Wade to be an agent.
Agent?
Yeah,
All right.
an appointee is what I really think of him as.
Your point, whatever merit it has, Ms. Merchant, is on the record.
Thank you.
Next question. All right. Do we need any moments in a minute?
I swear
Mr.
the
Sadek.
judge is like, man,
No, I'm
you
gonna
have
go
to
down.
save him
All right.
for a Fani, I swear. Because you know the DA and the judges kind of go hand in hand. Shit, they be in the same building. You know what I mean? Take the same lunches, got relationships, personal relationships.
I'm going to try to ask you questions that you can actually answer
For favors, you know?
without having to explain, okay?
Yes, sir. My comprehension skills are pretty good, so we should do all right.
Anyway, man.
We shall
know- well,
soon
we'll
see.
check out a little bit of this before I go.
If I heard you correctly, you moved into what I will refer to as the Yurti condo in either March or April of 2021. Is that correct?
Sometime between late February and April, yes. I don't. Just so we're clear, yes. But in that time period, you're in the ballpark. We're in the ballpark.
And is that Yurti condo, would you say that it is in Hapeville?
It is in Hapeville, yes, sir.
And you moved in there for safety reasons?
My father Yes, I moved in there. We were concerned. My father was terribly concerned about me continuing to live at the house, so they were clear. People came to my house at 5 o'clock in the morning about the police brutality cases, saying I was going to have a wake-up call. There were security threats due to gang cases, and there were concerns due to that was at the very beginning of this, looking into that. And so for all of those reasons and what was happening, my father wanted me out the house, and begrudgingly I left.
Okay, so the answer to the question was a yes for safety reasons, correct?
Those were all of the things that caused the safety concerns. I'm sorry.
Yes, for safety reasons, correct?
Questioning whether they are or are not safety concerns. I just asked that you moved into this condo, the RT condo,
Right.
for safety reasons, right?
Yes.
Okay. At the time that you moved into the condo, be it from February to April of 2021,
Yes.
was your father still living in your house?
Right, because my father.
That's
yeah.
all I asked?
Yes.
But I get to explain the answer, sir.
I don't know if there's an explanation. If I ask you,
There is no real explanation for that. If he asked, was your father still living in the house? It's a simple yes, he was still living in the house. Fani problem is she talked too much. Sometimes less is better. Just answer him, yes, he was still staying there, because you already explained it to the last attorney. Did she or did she not? Just like your attorney would get in and say, that question has already been asked and answered. Okay, so if he's saying, did your dad remain in that house? It's yes, you don't need to explain all over again, my dad is scared of COVID-19 and he this, that, and the other. But you know the judge is going to let her do it.
your father still living at your house, the answer is either he was or he wasn't.
Yes, but you are going to get to argue at the end of this, as we both
I'm
know.
not going to argue
And so
anything.
I
I'm
would
going to
like
ask.
to be able to explain why.
I'm going
And so,
to.
yes, because my father is an older gentleman, he was worried about COVID, and he
So
stayed.
what? Yes, he
Ms.
stayed at
Willis,
the
I'm going to have to say
place.
that's second
Yes,
time.
yes, that is very
Whenever we have to
irrelevant,
put a
show.
pause, you stop testifying, okay? You'll have a chance to explain yourself.
Exactly.
The question was whether your father was not staying there at the time, and you're clarifying that in your answer as well. You can have a brief clarification, but it shouldn't be something that reaches well beyond the question. All right?
No, if it's a simple yes or no question, there really is no clarification for it. Did he or did he not? It's not like they're asking her, why did he stay there? I can see if they were saying, why did he stay there? And then they were saying, I'm not asking for all that. But they're not. They're asking, did he stay in the house? You don't have to tell them, oh yeah, because of COVID and he was scared for me and this, that, and the other. And it's crazy because when you guys see her dad on the stand, you know exactly where she gets it from.
Mr. Sadal, you can read.
Same way Daryl Brooks got it from Don.
Ask the question. We'll see where it takes us.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Was your father still living in your house
Here we go.
at the time you moved to what I would refer to as the Yurti condo?
Yes, sir, he was, due to his concerns related to COVID.
Okay. The safety concern was
That shit is
that
irritating.
there was
I don't know
potential
about y'all.
danger at your house. Is that correct?
Yes, my address had been exposed, so yes, there was concerns about potential danger at my house.
See, now mind you, every time she does this, it's like, why don't you just wait? Because they're going to ask you that. I'm asking you, did your dad stay in the home? Yes. So did he stay there? And it's all for the record. She knows this. She's the district attorney. She know the record has to be clear. So to me, it seems like she's low-key smudging the whole record. Because now you're in that seat. Not the one necessarily asking the questions, steady trying to control the courtroom. Now, I know this ain't necessarily a criminal case yet or anything like that, and it probably won't be. But at the same time, when you sit in that seat, it seems like the same old practice. Sarah Boone did it, Daryl Brooks did it, now you're doing it. The same, it's almost, in a way, the same type of shit Daryl Brooks was on, but Daryl Brooks is a fucking idiot. And you bringing yourself down to that level? Like, wait for the attorneys to ask the questions. Other than that, don't give up don't give up too much. Like, what? But this is the DA.
So anyone staying at your house in the time period after you went to the Yerty condo was still in danger, correct?
Yeah, well, no, he did.
I think you have to.
Correct.
It's your attorney, Ms. Willis. Sorry, Mr. Bott, your objection is speculation
Yes.
to the question of
Speculation.
whether someone was still in danger at her condo.
Just let her answer the question.
Or Mr. Stadon wants to rephrase. So.
No, yeah,
I'm not sure.
I was able to.
I honestly don't see, and sorry for pausing it so quick, but I honestly don't see where that's speculation at. She literally said there's danger that her dad wanted her to leave due to the attacks and it being danger in the situation. So he asked, so your dad is staying there? Yes, he's staying there, and you say it was dangerous to stay at that home, but your dad decided to stay there. Now listen to the bullshit she say. So you rather leave your dad there to die over? Let's go.
Got it. I've got the objection,
he was
and
gonna
then I
die.
have.
I'll withdraw the objection. We can move forward.
Okay.
So, and I remember the question, so I can answer it.
But you can, now that the objection's been withdrawn, can you try to answer that question?
Yes.
There's still a safety concern for people staying at the house.
Yes, I was very concerned about my father still living at the house. However, if you have dealt with an older gentleman, he was not leaving the house, despite my urging him that I thought he should leave as well. He did not want to leave the house because he was particularly worried at his age about COVID. But that became I don't want to say I was not happy with that decision of my father's, but I can't ultimately make him leave, and he stayed there too long, in my opinion.
So dad is too worried about COVID over the danger that could come to that house if people were making threats and attacks and stuff on you like that, which could potentially get somebody hurt and or killed. But this old man was too worried about COVID, but he shows up in the courtroom. You do understand that COVID ain't went anywhere. That's the new flu. COVID's still around. So what's the difference? And at the time you say you moved out, that was 2 years ago. You know how long ago it was since COVID came out? So if he was feeling like it was dangerous due to COVID then, why would he show up in the court now? No face mask or nothing. Shit, Darrell Brooks was still wearing his face mask.
Okay, thank you. During that period that you left to go to the Yerty condo, did any of your children stay at your house?
So I don't think that they were there at that point. Certainly my baby wasn't there.
I'm talking about this entire period. We're talking about, if I remember correctly, and you'll correct me, I'm sure, you said that you stayed there at what I would call the Yerty condo until January of 2022, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you in that period.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, her friend Robin, when they questioned her, she said she decided to go stay at that condo when she moved out of the condo because she said she didn't live with her. She admitted that. The same like Fani said. But she said that she went to live at the condo to get away from her father.
Which would be February to April of 2021 until January of 22. Did any of your children stay at your house?
And you don't have to yell at me. I'm able to understand. So I would ask you to not yell at me.
I don't think he yelled.
That being said, I don't actually expressly remember, but I can tell you, since I have left my home, there have been times my oldest daughter came in. But I can't tell you with certainty the time window that you've said, if they did or not. And so I don't want to speculate to that. But there was some time that my oldest daughter came back. Whether it was that period or after I left the Yerty residence, I'm not sure, okay?
Okay, so if I continue to go into more detail on this, you're not going to be able to give me an answer of whether or not, in fact, any of your children were still at the house or stayed at your house during that time period, correct?
What I can give you clarity of, so that we are clear, is from the time I moved out in February-ish of 2021, after I left there. There was a time period that my oldest daughter came back. But if you're asking me, was it in that window or after, I just don't have a recollection of that because, you know, your kids come and they go. And so I don't remember the specific time period, and I apologize for that.
Did your children ever stay with you at the Yurti condo?
Like maybe a night,
Okay.
like for a girls' night or something, but live with, no.
Okay. Did anyone else stay with you at the Yurti condo, including Miss Yurti?
Never. Miss Yurti never lived in the condo. She met her husband and they moved. They weren't quite married, but they moved. Nobody ever lived with me in the condo. That was
My word was stayed, not lived. Stayed with you at the condo.
I guess I don't understand the distinction, but no one ever, I think my oldest child, I think she spent one night with me, maybe my oldest and my youngest, but I think that whole time I was in that place, other than that one night, I don't think anyone ever, that was a very lonely period in my life. I don't think anyone ever spent the night other than maybe one night. I remember a picture of my baby sitting on the couch in that place, and I'm thinking she spent that night. But just a very lonely time in life.
Okay. We'll stay with the lonely theme just for a minute.
Anyway, we're going to end up doing a part 2 of this. And yes, Mr. Wade threw his marriage away for this, even though he say that him and his wife been, I guess, separated since 2015, which I don't want to speculate. So I'm not going to say it was for sure or it wasn't. But if I'm not mistaken, he was a very married man. And you guys engaged in sexual relations and or relationship. And I bet when you guys went to all these different places, he probably said he was gone on a business trip. But then again, I'm just speculating, right? Anyway, man, we're gonna do a part 2 of this. I'm gonna breeze through a lot more of this case. I breezed through some of it, but you know, you gotta breeze over stuff a couple times so you can catch everything, so that then you can give a better synopsis to everything. So I'm gonna do that, and we are gonna come back. Probably, I'm gonna try to come back tomorrow with the Sarah Boone case, or the Sarah Boone interrogation to start with, because I mean that girl going through lawyers and everything, but that interrogation is nothing less than a Daryl Brooks interrogation. Like Sarah Boone is like the female Daryl. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely gonna get into that. And man, I want to salute all you guys and tell y'all good morning, have a good day. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.